problems. First, discuss the rules in converting Fisher projection into Howard projection. Second, explain some of the reactions of the monosaccharides. Third, list down the types of structural polysaccharides. Fourth, differentiate between galactosemia and lactose intolerance. Hi everyone, good day. Good day, Mamel. This is Princess Pepper Yumora, the first reporter of Group 2. There are two forms of D-glucose, the alpha form and the beta form. So before we're going to discuss the Howard structure, let's discuss first the Fisher projection or the rules in converting Fisher structure into Howard projection. So we have 6 carbon in Fisher projection. We have carbon 1, carbon 2, carbon 3, carbon 4, carbon 5, carbon 6. So if this hydroxyl group attack the upper carbon, we can create alpha form. And if this hydroxyl group attack the lower carbon, we can create a beta form. So two forms of the glucose, the alpha and beta form. So we can identify if that is an alpha form if OH of C1 and hydroxymethyl group of C5 are on opposite side. If beta form, OH of C1 and hydroxymethyl of C5 are on the same side. So Howard projection formulas. As useful as the Fisher projection, it is an excellent way to keep track of relative stereochemistry. It gives a poor sense of the real structures of carbohydrates. The Howard projection is a way around this limitation that does not require you to try to convey the complete 3D image of the molecule. Sugar in Howard projection can be classified according to the ring size, 5 peranuses or 6 peranuses, which they assume in solution. A sugar with fewer than 5 carbons cannot form a stable ring. So, in Howard projection formulas, we have pyran and furan. So, in pyran, we have the example of alpha D-glucose, so we have 6 carbon. In furan, we have alpha D-fructose and alpha D-ribose. So, all in all, it has 6 carbon.
Good day, everyone. I am Jericho Istanyal. I am the second reporter, and I will discuss the Howard's projection formulas. So, in this slide, we can see the different example, the pyran and the furan. So in the next slide, Howard's projection formulas, the furanoses. So we divide Howard's projection into two classes, the furanoses and the pyranoses. The furanoses or 5-member ring hemiacetal are drawn with the oxygen at the top of the pentagon. So the horizontal band and the bottom band is assumed to be coming out of the plane towards you. Thus, the 5-member ring is in a plane perpendicular to the page. So, in the example, in the furan example, so the oxygen is on the top and the horizontal band and the bottom is assumed to be coming out of the plane towards you. So, mo ani siya. Makita sa example nato na naa sa bottom line, makita nato ang kuan iyang example. So thus the 5-member ring is in the perpendicular to the page. Vertical lines are drawn on each carbon to indicate attachments above and below the plane of the 5-member ring. In solution, fructose, ribose, and deoxyribose will exist a 5-member furanose rings. The furanose ring resemble the cyclic either called furan. So, a furanose form of sugar ribose is a good example. So, mo ni siya atong example sa furanosis, kana sa furan. So, makita na to ang iyang i-describe dito na ang oxygen nasa top and the bottom line, mo na siya nasa sa lalom. So, the next one is the Howard's projection formula, spiranosis. So, 6-member ring spiranosis have a slightly different but quite similar Howard projection. A hexagon is placed so that a horizontal bond runs along the bottom. The oxygen in the ring is placed at the upper right. Usually, the hemiacetal carbon or the anomeric position is placed at the extreme right. In solution, glucose, galactose, and mannose will exist a 6-member pyranose ring. The sugar ring resemble the cyclic ether called pyran. Again, the bond at the bottom is assumed to be coming out of the plane, and vertical bonds are used to indicate substituents above and below the 6-member ring. So, in the first slides, we see the example of the pyran. So, muna siya example sa pyran, with the oxygen Japon, naa sa taas, tapos the OH na gi-describe sa pyran, pyranosis. So, the next one I will discuss to you is the rules for converting a feature structure to a Howard structure. First is, draw either a pyranose or a furanose ring depending on the sugar. So, magdraw ta og furanose or pyranose na magdepend sa sugar na to. Second is, attach the flagpole carbon above the ring and number the carbons. So, atong i-attach ang flagpole sa above the ring and number the carbons. So, third is, attach the OH at the H groups using the conversions below. Muna siya feature OH to right, OH to left, and the Howards is OH down below the ring, OH up above the ring. So, number 4 is the anomer. So, anomer. Place the anomeric carbon OH opposite the flagpole. So, ato siyang flagpole carbon. So, atong sa anomer A ni siya is atong ibutang ang carbon OH sa opposite sa flagpole carbon. So, for the 4B, B anomer, place anomeric carbon OH same side as the flagpole carbon. So, ato siyang ibutang sa same side sa atong flagpole carbon. So, the next one is the anomeric carbon. The new chiral center created with the sugar ring is formed. So, anomers, the two new sugar stereoisomers created by ring closure. So, that's all, and the next reporter is Rosjeline Acebes. Thank you.
So, good day, ma'am. I am Rosjeline Acebes, and I am the next reporter. So, this is the continuation of the part that discussed by Mr. Estaniel. So, he discussed earlier the rules for converting a Fisher structure to a Howard structure. And now, let's try this projection formula for D-glucose. We will convert this into a Howard projection. So, projection formula for D-glucose. This showcases a searching structure of D-glucose. The carbon atoms are numbered 1 to 6 with carbon 1 containing the aldehyde group. Then, the remaining carbon atoms, carbon 2 to carbon 6, are linked to hydroxyl groups OH. The convention here is that horizontal lines represent bonds projecting out of the plane towards the viewer, and the vertical lines representing bonds projecting away from the viewer. So here we have the Howard formula, and all OH groups to the right in the projection formula appear below the ring. So ang OH group nga makita nato diri sa right, there is a Fisher projection will appear below the ring, and all OH groups to the left that appear above the ring are OH groups nga makita nato diri sa left sa Fisher projection structure. So the third step is the counterclockwise rotation of the groups attached to C5 gives this structure. So here. And number 4, the OH group on carbon 5 adds across the bond of carbon and the oxygen. So these two stereoisomers are possible. So the two stereoisomers are possible, the alpha and the beta. So in alpha, as discussed by Mr. Estaniel, so the OH group are on the opposite side. So that's what we have seen here in the illustration. And the beta, the OH group are on the same side. So that's what we have seen here in the structure. So depending on how the ring closure occurs. So now let's move on to the next slide. Converting Fisher to Howard projection. So in this structure, the Fisher projection shows a straight chain structure of the glucose with carbon atoms numbered 1 to 6. So carbon 1 is at the top and contains the aldehyde group HCHO. So the remaining carbon atoms, carbon 2 to carbon 6, are linked to hydroxyl groups OH. Horizontal lines there in the structure represents bonds projecting out of the plane towards the viewer, and vertical lines represent bonds projecting away from the viewer. So we will rotate the structure counterclockwise 90 rotated by 90 degrees. So the carbon here in this Howard projection structure, the carbon atoms, the carbon chain is folded to form a hexagon, with carbon 1 at the top right corner and the carbon 5 at the bottom right corner. A ring oxygen is placed between carbon 1 and carbon 5 to connect them, forming a 6-membered ring or a pyranose. So the hydroxyl groups OH on carbon 2 and carbon 3 and carbon 4 are positioned based on their placement in the Fisher projection. So in Fisher projection, if the OH group was on the right side in the Fisher projection, it is positioned below the ring in the Howard projection. So
sorbitol is used as a moisturizing agent.
Was on the left side in the Fisher projection, it's positioned above the ring in the Howard projection. So by that, we will produce two possible stereoisomers, which is called the alpha and the beta. So here are the examples of the Fisher projection and the Howard projection of D-allose, D-aldrose, D-glucose, D-mannose, D-glucose, and D-idose. So the linear structure above is the Fisher projection, and the other structure below is its corresponding Howard projection. So that's all for my part. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. My name is Nikki A. Tubio, and my topic is a reaction of monosaccharides. So makadungog tag monosaccharides gani kanang kanang monosaccharides is kuan na siya mga simple sugar or simply as carbohydrates. But kanang makadungog ta nga monosaccharides maganda nga mono so usa ra gyud. Then so monosaccharides so reaction. So the product is the corresponding polyhydroxy alcohol, alcohol, product of corresponding polyhydroxy alcohol, ang sugar alcohol. Sorbitol, used as moisturizing agents in foods and cosmetics and as a sweetening agent of chewing gum. So, ang kuanda sorbitol gigamit as moisturizing agents o pampatamis sa ato ang mga chewing gum. Then, glycoside formation, simple carbohydrates, monosaccharides and disaccharides. So, of simple sugar such as glucose or fructose. So, disaccharides are two monosaccharides connected by a bridging O atom called the glycosidic bond, as in sucrose. So, muna siya. Disaccharides is duha ka monosaccharides. Then, glycosidic bond. Covalent bond between a hemiacetal or hemiketal and an alcohol. So, ang glycosidic bond resulta siya sa covalent bond between a hemiacetal and hemiketal of an alcohol. Then glycoside.
Good day, everyone. I am Gia Marie Alderan, so I'm going to continue the report about the reactions of monosaccharides and are measured using the Benedict's reagent. The reaction can provide valuable information about the level of glucose in the urine sample. A small amount of urine sample is added to the Benedict's reagent. The mixture is then heated in the water bath. The heat is essential to facilitate the reaction between the reducing sugars in the urine, such as glucose and the copper 2 ions in the Benedict's reagent. If glucose is present in the urine sample, it will react with the copper 2 ions in the Benedict's reagent. The aldehyde group in the glucose molecule acts as a reducing agent, reducing the copper 2 ions to form a red-orange precipitate of copper 1 oxide. The intensity of the color change from blue to green, yellow, orange, or red indicates the relative concentration of glucose in the urine sample. A more intense color change suggests a higher level of glucose present in the urine. By performing the Benedict's test on the urine sample, healthcare providers can assess the presence and level of glucose in the urine, which can be indicative of conditions such as diabetes mellitus, where elevated blood glucose level spill over into the urine. Regular monitoring of glucose levels in the urine can aid in diagnosing and managing such conditions. That's all, and thank you. Enzyme oxidation. In biochemical systems, enzymes can oxidize the primary alcohol and an aldose such as glucose without oxidation of the aldehyde group to produce an aldonic acid.
D-glucose or D-glucuronic acid. Reduction to sugar alcohols. The carbonyl group in the monosaccharide is reduced to hydroxyl group using hydrogen as the reducing agent. The product is the corresponding polyhydroxyl alcohol, which is the sugar alcohol. D-glucitol having a D-sorbitol. D-glucose. That's all, and thank you so much.
Good day, everyone. I will be reporting my part, the reactions of monosaccharides, glycoside formation. It explained that glycoside formation refers to the process of forming a compound called a glycoside. In this process, sugar molecule in its cyclic form is bonded to an alcohol molecule through a covalent bond called a glycosidic bond. Simple carbohydrates, such as monosaccharides and disaccharides, are involved in glycoside formation. Examples of simple sugar include glucose and fructose. Disaccharides are formed when two monosaccharides are connected by a glycosidic bond. For example, sucrose is a disaccharide composed of glucose and fructose. The glycosidic bond is formed between a hemicetal or hemiketal group of one sugar molecule and an alcohol group of another molecule. In sucrose, the glycosidic bond connects the hemicetal group of glucose to the alcohol group of fructose. The formation of disaccharide, which is a type of sugar molecule made up of two monosaccharides. The disaccharide forms when the OH group of the anomeric carbon of one monosaccharide reacts with an OH group of a second monosaccharide. The linkage between the monosaccharides in a disaccharide is called a glycosidic linkage. It is named based on the number of the carbon at which the linkage begins and the carbon on the second monosaccharide at which the linkage ends. The glycosidic linkage can be designated as A or B depending on the conformation at the anomeric carbon. If the conformation is up, it is designated as A, and if it is down, it is designated as B. It describes that the chemical structure of sucrose, which is a type of sugar. Sucrose is made up of two simpler sugars, glucose and fructose, which are connected by a glycosidic bond. The bond between glucose and fructose is A and B linkage. Sucrose is a non-reducing sugar, meaning it does not have a free aldehyde or ketone group that can undergo oxidation reactions. The chemical formula for sucrose is C12H22O11. So that's all. Thank you and God bless.
Good afternoon, Mamel, and for the assign on me, I will be going to discuss the maltose. Maltose are produced by two maltose is a type of sugar also known as malt sugar or maltobiose. So here we have a 2-glucose. Here we have a maltose. First we have to draw the structure. I will draw the structure first. The glucose is a I'll first draw the structure so I can continue every segment of this. Wait. H, hydrogen, oxygen, hydrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, oxygen. So these two are called the glucose. So when there is maltose will be formed when this glycosidic bond linkage bond are occur. We have a hydrogen. This is what we call glycosidic linkage bond. So here, this is the structure of glucose, structure of maltose. Maltose is also a type of sugar known as malt sugar or maltobiose, that is formed by two units of glucose joined together by an alpha glycosylic bond. It is a disaccharide, which means it is a smaller sugar molecule made up to 2 monosaccharides or simple sugars. Maltose exists in 3 forms, where they are the alpha maltose, aldehydo-maltose, and B-maltose. Maltose can be naturally found in some foods such as grains, cereals, fruits, and it's also produced during the germination of grains, which is why it is called a malt sugar or maltose. Maltose is also used as sweeteners in some foods, processed foods, and beverages. So that's all for my report, and thank you.
Good day, ma'am. So my name is Jose Kalit Jr. and my topic is all about the amylose and amylopectin. So amylose is a type of polysaccharides which is compound classified as carbohydrates. Amylose makes up about 20% to 30% of the starch compound. It is resistant starch, meaning it is not digested but fermented in gut by some strains of healthy bacteria. This makes a type of insoluble fiber. And amylopectin it is the branch chain polymer of the D-glucose units, which constitutes about 80% of the starch. So ang kalahian ana is amylose is 20% of the starch and amylopectin is 80% of the starch. That's all.
Good day, classmates, and also to our instructor, Ma'am Mel Dizon. I am Jason G. Monopolio, based in major in agronomy. I am a section A. So for this video, I'm going to discuss, it's all about the storage polysaccharides. Polysaccharides, there are different types of starch. So my topic, we focus in amylopectin and glycogen. So we're gonna talking about the polysaccharides. The polysaccharide consists of more than 6 more molecules of monosaccharide is joined by glycosidic linkage, or the polysaccharide's mini sugar units. So amylopectin is a highly branched polysaccharide consisting of alpha glucose monomers. Being highly branched, these polymers are unable to attack together neatly, which exposes more either linkage to enzyme and water attacks. This means that the glucose stored in amylopectin is more readily released into the bloodstream than other more strained chain polysaccharide. So as you can see, the structure of the amylopectin is there are two types of there are two branches of band. So Una is alpha 1,4 and the second is alpha 1,6. See, this is the glucose branch molecules, open spiral molecule, more water soluble, non-reducing sugar. Then glycogen. Glycogen is the highly branched. This is the glycogen found in animal starch. So glycogen is reserved carbohydrates of animals and known as animal starch. It has also been isolated from plant sources. It is found in all animal cells, occurring mainly in the liver and muscles. Then, so what are the difference between the amylopectin and the glycogen? So amylopectin is the insoluble in water, while glycogen is soluble in water. That's all, and thank you.
Hi everyone, especially to you, ma'am. Good day. So, my report is all about deoxysugar or deoxyribose. So, when you say ribose, refers to missing oxygen or derivative with an oxygen missing on carbon or C-2. So, since I cannot show you the slide, or I will just gonna show you the slide later on, okay? Since I'm just using a laptop. So it says here, can you think about hexagon shape? In hexagon shape, there is an hydrogen, oxygen, carbon, and hydrogen. So here. Alright, so I hope you can see it well. So as you can see the illustration below, the difference between the deoxysugar and the deoxyribose, actually it almost the same one, but there is only a small difference between the two, which is the deoxyribose contains only two. Instead of oxygen, hydrogen, it contains two deoxyribose. Alright, so I think that would be all, and I hope you do understand about my report for today. Thank you and God bless.
Good day, everyone. My name is Idelina Rolabe, a reporter about dietary considerations and carbohydrates. We have here the difference between galactosemia and lactose intolerance. So first we have galactosemia. Milk products which contain lactose are converted to galactose and glucose in the digestive tract. Both glucose and galactose are absorbed by the body and used to produce energy. However, galactose has to be converted phosphorylated glucose before it can be used by the body. Galactosemia is a genetic disease caused by a lack of enzymes necessary for the conversion of galactose to phosphorylated glucose, which is used in the cellular metabolism or glycolysis. A toxic compound formed from galactose accumulates in people with galactosemia. Treatment for galactosemia is the use of non-dairy products which does not contain lactose. Okay. And lactose, we have the lactose intolerance. Milk products which contain lactose are converted to galactose and glucose in the digestive tract using an enzyme called lactase. People with lactose intolerance does not produce very little or no lactase and the undigested lactose and the intestinal tract are metabolized by bacteria, releasing water and other organic acids, causing cramping and diarrhea. People with this condition can take supplements with lactase along with their food and enjoy eating dairy products or use a diet devoid of lactose coming from milk products. Okay. Lactose intolerance is present in 75% of adults the world over. Its clinical manifestations include abdominal pain, bloating, gas, and diarrhea upon consumption of dairy products. An intestinal enzyme called lactase splits lactose into two glucose molecules, enabling them to pass through the intestinal walls and enter the bloodstream. Lactase deficiency leads to an inability to digest lactose, which becomes fermented by bacteria, producing hydrogen and other gases. Lactose also attracts water molecules into the colonic lumen, causing loose stools or diarrhea. So, what is the difference between lactose intolerance and milk allergy? Lactose intolerance is hardly immunological in origin and occurs during late childhood or adolescence. Milk allergy, on the other hand, is an allergic reaction manifested by diarrhea, vomiting, abdominal pain, asthma, hives, and sometimes anaphylaxis. Allergy occurs during the first 4 months of life and ceases by the baby's first birthday. The simplest way to treat lactose intolerance is by avoidance of dairy products. Tests used to diagnose the problem are lactose intolerance tests, hydrogen breath test, and stool acidity test. To minimize symptoms of lactose intolerance, space the consumption of milk throughout the day. Lactose containing foods should be eaten together with other foods. Enzyme supplements are also helpful in converting lactose consumed to glucose and galactose. And that's all my report. Good day and thank you everyone.